In a few short weeks, well, less than 2 now actually, the 45th President of the United States will be inaugurated, I guess is the right word, in Washington, D.C. And of course, along with him comes a new First Lady. And there have been many First Ladies in our time. Look at that, Life magazine had an entire magazine on them. And while First Ladies are cool, everyone wanted the U.S. to have a first female president. But Hillary Clinton lost. So we haven't had an elected female president of the United States. But would you believe me if I told you we actually have already had a female president? She referred to her time as her stewardship. And although she was acting president for almost 2 years, she never, even afterwards, said she was president. Again, she referred to it as her stewardship. I, of course, am talking about Mrs. Edith Wilson. And 100 years ago, we had a female president. Of course, the public didn't know about it, and a lot of Congress didn't really know about it, but let's talk about her, because we should. Edith Wilson was born on the 15th of October in 1872. She was child number 7 out of 11 in her family, and she was descended from Virginian aristocracy like so many other presidents, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, I could go on. She was a direct descendant of Pocahontas of the Powhatan tribe. Everyone knows who Pocahontas is, so that's pretty cool, right? At 15, Edith Wilson attended Martha Washington College to study music. She pretended to have an aristocratic childhood, that she was rich and wealthy and everything was cool and fine, but she actually lived in crowded rooms above storefronts. They didn't actually have all that much money. She just pretended, which, can you really blame her? In 1896, she married Norman Galt, who was a businessman. He died in 1908, and Edith paid a manager to operate his jewelry business, and she ended up having a lot of financial success from this. I mean, if you don't want to do it and you don't know how to do it, the best thing is to hire someone who does know how to do it, right? That's what she did. Woodrow Wilson was, I don't know, what number president was he? Let's look. He was our 28th president. And when he met Edith, he was mourning the loss of his first wife. He was already president at the time, so he had 2 first ladies, his first wife and his second. He actually proposed to Edith 3 months after meeting her, and in 1915 they were married. Again, he was already president, so she automatically became first lady. During the presidency, Edith never hosted the parties and dances most other first ladies did because of World War I, and Woodrow was not the healthiest human being to ever live. She didn't want to put a lot of stress on him. So the White House wasn't the fun-loving party place that, like, it was in Dolly Madison's time, for example. But, again, there were reasons for that. And so Edith began screening all of Woodrow's mail, all of his phone calls. She started alienating his chief advisor and his press secretary, so she would be practically his only contact with the outside world. Outside of World War I, Edith was made privy to the classified intel, so she knew everything that was going on. And when Wilson's presidential term became extremely stressful due to World War I, Edith actually went overseas with the president to discuss peace talks with the Allies, and she was the first lady to travel to Europe during the incumbency, during her first ladyship, which is pretty cool. Because of this, the first lady was finally recognized as equal to, like, the regent queens or other female leaders of state across the world. It's because of her. In September and October of 1999, somewhere around there, Woodrow suffered a stroke, leaving part of his body partly paralyzed. Edith told Congress it was simply exhaustion. She's disinformation. She became the sole conduit between the president and his cabinet. After deciding his vice president should not take control, she began what I told you earlier was called her stewardship. Yes, Edith herself decided, even though the president can't be president, I don't want the vice president to take over. That would break Wilson's heart. So we're just going to keep going as we're going, and I'll just be in charge. She never claimed to be president, like I said. She never tried to create new programs or anything drastic like that. She did sign documents in her own name, she took over many routine government duties, and she decided what her husband did or did not see. All of his papers and mementos and it all went through her. Everything. And in 1921, when his presidency ended, they both left the White House. In 1924, Woodrow died. In 1939, Edith published a memoir stating that it was Woodrow's doctors who urged her to take the stewardship course and to not let the vice president take over. Again, she said that it would just have broken Woodrow's heart to make him quit early on, so she was like, we're not going to do that, I'll just keep doing what we're doing. She actually spent the rest of her life maintaining Woodrow's legacy, making sure he was remembered fondly, not as a bad president. And in 1961, she was present for President Kennedy's inauguration. And on the 28th of December, 1961, she died on her husband's birthday. Woodrow's birthday, not the first one. After her death, historians went through her memoirs and they found that she had fibbed a lot of stuff, like growing up nice in her childhood and things like that. But you can't ignore the fact that we did have a female president from the end of 1919 to the beginning of 1921. So for just over a year, we had a female president. The public didn't know. She didn't call herself the president, but she was acting president and she made pretty much all of the decisions. So for people to say we still haven't had a female president, we have had one in all but actual name, and she wasn't elected, which is a big step. But Hillary Clinton's loss shouldn't be seen as this huge dramatic deal when pretty much 98 years ago we already had a female president. So just spread that news around, tell all your friends if they're devastated that we haven't had a female president, tell them to get over it, because we have, no offense. So hopefully next time we have a female who's better who runs, that the public will actually trust to elect. But for now on, we've already had a female president, and that's just them facts, folks. So I'm Alex, thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys soon with some more interesting factoids. See you later.